Right now, all over the world, massive columns of fire are burning a highly valuable resource directly into the sky. In 2025 alone, energy producers flared 167 billion cubic meters of natural gas. That is $54 billion worth of fuel, literally set on fire. To put that in perspective, that single year of waste exceeds the entire volume of liquefied natural gas that passed through the Persian Gulf. We know exactly how to capture this gas. The equipment is readily available, and fixing the problem would only cost about twice what these companies are losing annually in wasted product. The obstacle here is structural. We lack the regulatory frameworks and the capital pipelines required to force the deployment of existing solutions. When the technology is mature and the economics are profitable, yet the fire keeps burning, the failure isn't technical. It is a sign that our standard methods of coordination are unable to translate solved problems into physical reality. This specific failure in the energy sector serves as a lens for larger, more complex threats, from climate change to the trajectory of artificial superintelligence. For centuries, our method of solving problems has been to map reality as accurately as possible, find a single objective truth, and build strict rules to enforce it. But as we build models with billions of parameters and ecosystems with endless feedback loops, finding that perfect objective answer becomes a computational impossibility. To navigate the complexity of this century, we have to move past the search for perfect certainty and learn to manage systemic chaos. This shift requires a new vocabulary, which researchers are formalizing through a framework called the Bridge360 Metatheory. This axis represents the unified probability space, a single scale from 0 to 1, measuring the stability of any physical, political, or neural system. Near 0, rigid systems fracture under pressure. Near 1, they explode into a chaotic cloud of noise. Under this framework, an oil conglomerate dumping toxic waste into the atmosphere and a large language model spinning out wild hallucinations are experiencing the exact same mathematical failure, an uncontrolled release of entropy. The goal is to maintain the system within the epsilon spine. This is a central band between 0.45 and 0.65 on our scale, with enough structure to remain stable, but enough flexibility to adapt. Intelligence, therefore, is no longer about finding a perfect answer, but about dynamically steering a system to keep it trapped inside the survivable corridor. When an energy company flares gas to save internal costs, they are simply dumping their waste, or entropy, into the atmosphere. The alternative is a concept that Bridge360 model calls entropy-driven altruism. In this model, building shared infrastructure is more than a moral preference. It's a defensive strategy. By helping a neighbor reduce their entropy, you prevent their fragility from destabilize a shared system. Under these conditions, altruism is a mathematical requirement to keep the collective corridor from collapsing. Any network, whether it is an economy of human beings or an architecture of artificial agents, that refuses to manage this shared stability will inevitably hit a blowout state and destroy itself. This entropic shift changes the baseline requirements for governing artificial superintelligence and climate policy. We cannot rely on static legislation or rigid code constraints to contain systems that grow exponentially more complex by the hour. Researchers propose replacing these brittle rules with the handshake protocol, a mandate requiring engineers and policymakers to integrate continuous governance directly into the architecture of new technologies. Under this protocol, any deployed system must be thoroughly auditable, its actions must be fully reversible, and it must actively prove it is managing its own entropy without dumping it onto the rest of us. Translating this mathematical framework into active, empirical engineering is the only way to secure the highly powerful tools we are currently building. We often view systemic collapse as a mysterious or inevitable fate, but it is simply the predictable outcome of ignoring thermodynamic boundaries. By moving away from perfect truth and adopting an entropy attractor model, we stop fighting the complexity of the world and start steering it. Recognizing that our deepest societal and technological challenges are ultimately governed by the laws of thermodynamics provides a mathematical roadmap to survive.